to all trainers!
MerMan Origin, He-Man. Hello, I'm your host Mystical Blue and welcome to another marvellous video. Today we are calling all He-Man fans once again as we look at one of the most iconic characters from the world of the Masters of the Universe action figure collection. Mer-Man is a fictional character from the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe animated series and the Mattel Masters of the Universe toy line. The persona was intended to be Skeletor's second most recognisable henchman after Beastman. The MerMan toy was included in Mattel's initial run of Masters of the Universe action figures, which were available from 1981 to 1982. He is a fishman who has influence over marine life, just like Aquaman from DC and Namor from Marvel. He is also sometimes portrayed as the monarch of Eternia's underwater realm. Let's take a deep dive into this character's journey, starting from his origin to his story arcs in all different versions out there. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, let's begin. Merman's first appearance. Merman's first appearance in the visual media form was in Mattel's Masters of the Universe mini-comics, which was released in 1981. These first 4 stories were presented as booklets, written by Don Glutt and illustrated by Alfredo P. Alcala. Each page included one image and an accompanying text. In the first comic, he was shown as one of Skeletor's minions but was not mentioned. Mer-Man was properly introduced in the second issue titled King of Castle Grayskull. When Skeletor learned that one half of the Power Sword was concealed behind the toughest rock in Eternia, he assigned Mer-Man to battle He-Man while searching for the other half under the rock where He-Man had constructed his home. Mer-Man tried to distract the hero when Skeletor fled to Castle Grayskull, but after He-Man was able to reclaim his force-filled garment, it was an uphill struggle. He-Man quite easily and swiftly beat Mer-Man with a little bit of assistance from Battle Cat. In the next mini-comic called Battle in the Clouds, Mer-Man rescues Skeletor, who was thrown into the sea by He-Man after he defeated Skeletor in a fight. Together, the two bad guys attack He-Man's flying battle ram. For Mer-Man to ride his horse to He-Man's house, they capture Teela. Despite Stratos' assistance, the hero loses control of his glider. Rushing over to where He-Man is lying, Mer-Man is able to take the power suit from the partially aware and now defenseless hero. He also makes a trip to Stratos' mountain residence to take the battle ram for himself. He-Man asks for Battle Cat, who transports him to his comrade man-at-arms after the Sea Lord has left. To look for Teela, the two board man-at-arms Wind Raider. A battle in the air begins after encountering Mer-Man on the battle ram. The good guys eventually defeat their adversary with Stratos' assistance. Mer-Man returned in the next mini-comic titled The Vengeance of Skeletor. Skeletor summoned Beastman and Mer-Man in order to get revenge on He-Man. He ordered both of his goons to trap He-Man as he was heading to a meeting with Teela. He-Man was thrown into the water by Mer-Man after they defeated the hero, where an underwater monster was waiting, but Stratos saved him. When Skeletor attempted to enter Castle Grayskull after the evil henchman brought word of He-Man's demise, he was met by an extremely alive He-Man together with Stratos and Teela. Skeletor attacked Mer-Man for failing to defeat He-Man with his energy blade after his henchmen were vanquished, but He-Man intervened to save him. On the other hand, Skeletor's use of energy blasts to punish his own minions inspired him to use the heroic warrior's energy blasts to drive the evil warriors away.
Rescue the victim I had chosen for the sea demon. I now demand...
Mer-Man in Filmation series. The Masters of the Universe animated series, produced by Filmation, is one of the most iconic animated series of the 1980s. The version of Mer-Man we are familiar with today is from the series only. Here, Mer-Man was an ocean warlord native to the Crystal Sea and worked for Skeletor. Mer-Man often lived deep under the oceans and frequently worked independently of Skeletor and the other evil warriors, devising his own water-based plots, even though he answered to Skeletor at Snake Mountain. The Mer-Man had his own aquatic minions who acted as his foot troops, or rather, foot and swim troops, and possessed telepathic skills that allowed him to command other marine animals. In the episode titled Teela's Quest, Mer-Man made his debut. The story goes like this. Teela decides to inquire about her mother's identity with the Oracle at the Crystal Sea. Without any assistance from He-Man, Teela navigates the dangers of the Crystal Sea on her own. When she arrives in the Oracle's cave, she discovers a crystal ball in which an old man's head narrates the tale of Teela's beginning. Man-at-Arms saw Mer-Man attempting to catch Zoar, the sorceress in eagle form, while he was still young and still had a thing for pretty ridiculous headgear. Zoar might have simply flown away, but she was attempting to guard something within her nest. Mer-Man was defeated by Zor and Man-at-Arms, who swore vengeance. 20 years later, in the present time, Mer-Man tried to offer Teela, the daughter of Man-at-Arms, as a sacrifice to the same demon, but this time, He-Man and Zoar stopped him. Later, Mer-Man would set off on his own, utilising the Pearl of Power to rule Aquatica, the underwater metropolis, and mind control its inhabitants. In the episode titled City Beneath the Sea, King Randor assigns Man-at-Arms to locate the source of the mysterious whirlpools that have been destroying ships. Prince Adam persuades his father to allow him and Cringer to go along as well, probably assuming that this would be an assignment for He-Man. Following their departure, their ship gets sucked into a vortex as well. Adam transforms into He-Man to protect Man-at-Arms from falling objects. They are carried into an underwater metropolis populated by fish-like humanoids. They realise it had to be the famous city of Aquatica, governed by Mer-Man. When they try to attack him, he restrains them with the mystical Pearl of Power and sends the three to the arena to confront the colossal law boss, a giant crustacean. He-Man defeats the beast and they exit the arena, only to be encircled by guards. Shalandor, an Aquatican with enough magic to shield himself from the mind manipulation Mer-Man has imposed on the other Aquaticans with the Pearl of Power, saves them. Shalandor is impressed by He-Man's strength and believes he can destroy the monster set up by Mer-Man to protect the city's rightful ruler, Princess Nami. He-Man and Man-at-Arms swim into the cave where she is being held and are confronted by a massive beast, which He-Man defeats by triggering a cave-in. Back in Aquatica, the princess returns the pearl and everyone returns to normalcy, but Mer-Man plans to eradicate the city with his whirlpool machine. He-Man was able to spin a guardrail on the city's outskirts fast enough to smash the machine, rescuing Aquatica.
Now you'll never forget Mer-Man!
Mer-Man from 2002 TV series and Masters of the Universe Revelation. In this version, Mer-Man governed his own underwater realm and saw himself as the Lord of the Seas. He was involved in a conflict with Aquarius, his adversary, over a different undersea colony that wasn't yet under his control. Despite defeating Aquarius, Mer-Man returned to discover his own realm in ruins. The above storyline was depicted in the Icons of Evil comic book of the Masters of the Universe series. Mer-Man then fought alongside Keldor in the Battle of the Hall of Wisdom before being imprisoned behind the Mystic Wall in the Dark Hemisphere. Mer-Man was vital in Skeletor's scheme to leave the Dark Hemisphere, seeking for years in the Sea of Rakash for enough Corrodite crystal to fuel a contraption to demolish the Mystic Wall. In the 6th episode of Season 1, titled The Deep End, we see an unexpected power spike over Eternia, pushes the heroes and villains to look for answers in the Sea of Rakash. It becomes clear that the Corrodite gem, long supposed to be destroyed, is still in Mer-Man's hands. Man-at-Arms captures the Corrodite, but Mer-Man keeps him from fleeing. Mer-Man's giant fish ally eats Man-at-Arms and the Corrodite gem just as he is about to retrieve the gem. Surprisingly, the Corrodite induces a mutation within the colossal fish, making the creature very powerful and deadly, leading to He-Man defeating the beast and saving Man-at-Arms and the gem. Later, when the Snake Men returned and regained possession of Snake Mountain, Mer-Man attempted to meet Snakeface in a fight, but was turned to stone before he could deliver a blow. His body was broken to bits on the floor, but Skeletor brought him back to life, exhaling a sigh of relief as his body was rebuilt. Later, Mer-Man grabbed Snakeface's body, who had turned to stone by this stage, as a prize for his lair. In Masters of the Universe Revelation, Mer-Man did not always agree with Skeletor and Evelyn, but he might be persuaded to work with them occasionally. He lived in the Crystal Sea and ruled over the Aquaticans. He-Man and Teela once stole the luxury liner Sea Eagle when it sailed into Merman's realm, the Crystal Sea. Merman's aquatic underlings made care to lock He-Man and Teela's wrists with special shackles powered by a magical stone. The two heroes were then pulled into the river and about to die, but Man-at-Arms swam out of nowhere to save them. On board the Sea Eagle, the brave warriors promptly destroyed Skeletor, Mer-Man, and his troops. Years later, Teela was reminded of the past meeting when she traversed the Crystal Sea again, this time with an unusual crew of Evil Lyn, Andra, Orca, Beastman, and Roboto at the helm. They were besieged once more by the Aquaticans, commanded by an older, more ravaged-looking Mer-Man, and, like in the last battle, Man-at-Arms appeared out of nowhere to save the day. Mer-Man was compelled to lead Man-at-Arms and Evil Lyn to the Subternia Gate. When Mer-Man was discharged after performing his duty, he vowed to exact retribution.
Death to all traitors.
Mer-Man in Netflix. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, which made its Netflix debut in 2021, is a new re-imaging of the iconic He-Man series that targets a far younger audience than the traditional plot has in recent years. In this retelling, Adam is a young prince who is given the ability to become He-Man using a power sword. Teela, Duncan, Krastine and Cringer, who are Adam's companions, also possesses that power. They take the guises of Sorceress, Man-at-Arms, Ram-Man and Battle-Cat respectively. Mer-Man makes his debut in the 3rd season. Everything starts at the conclusion of The Tomb of Grayskull, the 4th episode, as all the factions assemble in Levithi. According to Mer-Man, the last of the race, the once ice-cold country where the merfolk live is now desolate and frozen. Mer-Man's role has not yet been explored adequately. I am sure he will be one of the primary characters in the next season. Toy line of Mer-Man. One of the earliest toys was the 1982 release of Mer-Man, which was created in 1981. The Swamp Thing character from DC Comics inspired his toy's design. Later, Stinkor, in the same toy line, adopted this look. The only things that separate Stinkor from Mer-Man are his black and white paint job, the type of chest armour he wears, and his chemically altered musky odour. In 2002, a Mer-Man toy was produced along with the Mike Young production show. The toy is based on that programme, with brown armour and a helmet like the First Lords of Power prototype. This Mer-Man figure from the Masters of the Universe Classics series was exclusively offered on Mattel's Collector website in 2009. This toy had 2 heads, one that resembled his traditional head and the other that was based on the Lords of Power prototype. Many other versions of toys have come out over the years of Mer-Man, and pretty sure it won't stop anytime soon.
Me, the Mer-Man, who pries the sword of power from your cold.
Mer-Man's physical appearance. Although Mer-Man's basic physical makeup is humanoid, in other depictions, his skin appears to have a fish-like texture and is either green or blue. His hands and feet are webbed, and he has 2 fins on either side of his head that resemble the ears of his species. He has broad, fang-filled jaws and enormous fish-like eyes. Although he doesn't appear to have a nose, he does have nostrils in other depictions. Rough orange scales cover the region surrounding his eyes and upper lip in the animated series. The orange scales only cover the area around his eyes, not the area around his lips. He has a golden breastplate that could be made of fish skin on him. He's got orange trunks on as well. Although the character's initial box cover had him sporting yellow anklets and gloves, these features were not painted on the actual figure, though in the early mini comics he is shown wearing yellow anklets. He could be seen sporting yellow gloves and boots in the Filmation series. He is at least as tall as the ordinary male human and has a strong frame. He has a yellow sword at his disposal.
How soft the people of Eternos have become.
What makes Mer-Man powerful? Mer-Man is endowed with a variety of supernatural skills and talents. It is unknown how many of these capabilities are Mer-Man's specific abilities and how many are physiological qualities shared by his species. Mer-Man is amphibious, which means he can move around on land and in the water equally easily, but he seems to prefer the latter. Merman appears to have higher physical strength than the typical person, even though he is not as strong as He-Man. Nevertheless, it is evident that his power is far more potent in water than on land. Merman also exhibits a rudimentary kind of telepathy that allows him to command a variety of underwater living forms. Some myths claim that this power solely affects cold-blooded marine life while not impacting sea animals. Merman's sword occasionally exhibits additional unique qualities, such as the ability to sometimes cause his enemies to become encased in ice by way of a kind of freeze ray. It is uncertain if the sword was created using magic or highly developed Eternian technology. His weapon has occasionally also been shown as a lance or trident spear.
Yes, and I plan to keep on doing so until Eternia is mine!
Marvelous verdict. Merman may have a silly look, but he's a tremendously strong creature in Eternia. He is the ocean's lord, the crystal sea's monarch, and the supreme authority over all of its inhabitants. Additionally, he possesses Aquaman-like abilities to telepathically command marine creatures. Although he is not as strong as He-Man, he does possess some superpowers, particularly when submerged. He is Skeletor's second choice, which speaks more to his fortitude than Merman. His street smart sense complements his outstanding combat abilities and incredible strength, making him a formidable opponent who should not be ignored. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.
Our home territory, Merman. I beg you, Skeletor. Let me deal with her.